We're staying in our drawingaccurately.dwg file. And this time we're going to take a look at how we would normally create entities and objects in our AutoCAD drawings. We wouldn't tend to draw regularly with snap and grid like we did in the previous video. We would tend to use things like coordinate entry and something else we're going to look at, direct distance entry as well. Now, we're just going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we start using the coordinates in our AutoCAD drawings. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn off snap and grid down here. So there's snap and grid, turn them off. They go grey on the status bar. Select the circle that you would have perhaps drawn earlier, and then right click and erase on the shortcut menu. Now, we're going to draw a small circle on the end of this line here. So we're going to go up to the draw panel, click on the flyout, center radius for the circle, just pick a point on the end of that line. Now, at the moment, it's not snapping to it. That's because we need to come down here. We need to switch our polar, auto snap, and object snap back on. Then if I hover there, can you see we get an end point? Left click. Just drag the circle out a little bit to about there, click there like that. There's our circle in place. Now the lines we don't need. So click on each line. You can do it individually like that. It won't take long. Just a quick click on each line. And once you've got them all selected, make sure the circle isn't selected. It's a right click and erase again like we did previously. Now we're going to utilize the center of that circle for some coordinate entry to create a rectangle like this with 4 lines, but using coordinates only. So before we do anything else, we need to make sure that the center object snap is on. So we come down to the status bar, click on this flyout arrow here next to object snap, and we want endpoint, put midpoint on as well, and we want center, intersection, and extension. Make sure those 5 snaps are ticked. So whenever you snap to an endpoint, midpoint, center, intersection, or extension, they will always display when you're working in the drawing. Now just click away from that in the drawing area, that menu will disappear. Make sure you're on the objects layer again in the layers panel, like so, and then go back to the line command, like you did in the previous video. And we're going to hover over the center of the circle, see it pop up, there you go, center snap, left click. Now you can see our line is now moving freely. Grid and snap, you're kind of tied to those snaps on the grid. Now we're working in a much freer environment where we can potentially use the dynamic input there to put a distance and an angle in. But we're not going to do that. We're going to type the @ symbol. So I'm going to type @ like so. Can you see that appears on the dynamic input entry like so? And we need that to be 250 long along the x-axis, but 0 going vertically on the y-axis. So we're going to type in 250, comma 0. Now that line will now go to the right because it's positive, and it will be horizontal because the y value is 0. Press enter, even though the line looks a bit weird, and you'll see there's your 250 long line. And now we're ready to come off of that segment there. Now we're going to do the same again, but we're going to use the y-axis instead of the x-axis. So this time it's an @ symbol again. This time 0 for x, type a comma, and then type 150 for the y value. So you're basically saying @0, 150. Press enter to confirm. And there's your vertical line. So you've gone 0 along the x-axis this time, but 150 up in the y-axis because the 150 was a positive value. If you'd put in negative 150, the line would have gone downwards from that last point. So again, we've got to go to the left this time. So the x value will now be negative. So it's going to be @ again, but minus 250, going to the left, negative x, comma 0 in the y-axis. Press enter, and there we go. Can you see that's gone to the left? And now I can right click and use that shortcut menu to click on close to go to the first point. And there you go. We've created the same rectangle, but using coordinate entry instead. So when you're using that @ symbol, that is a relative to last point. It's a relative coordinate. If you were using hashtags in front of those coordinate values, that would be an absolute coordinate relative to x and y equals 0 at the origin. If you look in the bottom left corner of your drawing, can you see x and y with the little square around it? That's indicating that the origin is down there somewhere. What we've done is we've gone from the center of the circle relative to the center of the circle using the at symbol. Absolute coordinates, it's a hashtag. Relative coordinates, it's an at symbol. So as you can see, fairly easy and quick using coordinates. Now, I suggest you go and look into coordinates in AutoCAD because there's not just regular Cartesian coordinates like that. You can have angular settings for relative coordinates as well. So you can put an angle as well as a distance and things like that in place as well. Go and check out coordinates in the AutoCAD help screens. It's worth a look and investigate them, and then you'll get an idea of how AutoCAD ticks and how the little motor behind AutoCAD calculates all this stuff that you're putting on the screen.